Jesus is about to go in. I love it. I love Jesus when he speaks. Matthew chapter 23. Woe to the scribes and Pharisees. Then Jesus spoke to the multitudes and to his disciples, saying, The scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat, and therefore whatever they tell you to observe, that observe and do. But do not do according to their works, for they say and do not do. For they bind heavy burdens hard to bear, and lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers. But all their works they do to be seen by men. They make their flatteries abroad, and enlarge their borders of their garments. They love the best places at feast, the best seats in the synagogues, greetings in the marketplace, and to be called by men, Rabbi, Rabbi. But you, do not be called Rabbi, for one is your teacher, the Christ, and you are all brethrens. Do not call anyone on earth your father, for one is your Father, he who is in heaven. And do not be called teacher, for one is your teacher, the Christ, but he who is greater among you shall be your servant. And whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. But woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you shut up the kingdom of heaven against men. For you neither go in yourselves, nor do you allow those who are entering to go in. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you devour widows' houses, and for the pretense make long prayers, and therefore you will receive greater condemnations. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you travel lands and sea to win one proselytes, and when he is won, you make him twice and much a son as hell as yourself. Woe to you, blind guide, who say, Whoever swears by the temple, it is nothing, but whoever swears by the gold of the temple, he is obligated to perform it. Fools and blind, for which is greater, the gold or the temple that sanctifies the gold? And whoever swears by the altar, it is nothing, but whoever swears by the gift that is on it, it is his, obligated to perform it. Fools and blind, for which is greater, the gift or the altar that sanctifies the gift? Therefore he who swears by the altar swears by it, and by all things on it. He who swears by the temple swears by it, and by him who dwells in it. And he who swears by heaven swears by the throne of God, and by him and who sits on it. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you pay tithes of mints and anise and cummings, and have neglected the weightier matters of the law, justice and mercy and faith. These you ought to have done without leaving the others undone. Blind guides who strain out a gnat and swallows a camel. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you cleanse the outside of the cup and dish, but inside they are full of extortions and self-indulgence. Blind Pharisees, first cleanse the inside of the cup and the dish, and that outside of them may be clean also. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you are like whitewashed tombs, which indeed appear beautiful outwardly, but inside are full of dead men's bones and uncleanness. Even so you also outwardly appear righteous to men, but inside you are full of hypocrisy and lawlessness. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you build the tombs of the prophets and adorn the monuments of the righteous, and say, if we had lived in the days of our fathers, we would not have been partakers with them in the blood of the prophets. Therefore you are witnesses against yourselves, and that you are sons of those who murdered the prophets. Fill up then the measure of your father's guilt. Serpent brood of vipers, how can you escape the condemnation of hell? Therefore, indeed, I send you prophets, wise men, and scribes. Some of them you will kill, crucify, and some of them you will scourge in your synagogues and prosecute from the city to city, and that on you may come all the righteous blood shed on the earth, from the blood of the righteous Abel to the blood of Zacharias' son, Berechiah, in whom you murdered between the temples and the altars. Certainly I say to you, all these things will come upon this generation. Jesus laments over Jerusalem. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the one who kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to hear. How often I wanted to gather your children together as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, but you were not willing. See, your house is left to you desolate. For I say to you, you shall see me no more till you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. I love you, Jesus. Thank you, man, I messed that up a bunch of times, so I had to read it over, and I like to do it all in one take. But that last time it really made sense. Especially the part about the gifts and the altars. I get what he's saying about sanctifying it. And how the Pharisees were doing their hypocrite. It reminds me of today, in some ways, I think about, my church and churches that go to missions with the help to feed the homeless, but they make them watch and preach, and then they feed the homeless, and then they go out to eat at very nice places. And I'm like, that's what the Pharisees would do. They're always dressed nice. And I'm not saying that to everybody. I'm just saying that stuff like that pops in my mind when I'm reading that. Wow, that makes sense. Yeah, he's talking about money a lot. Woe to you that says, hey, more for 24. You should give your whole paycheck. You're like, what? I'm just trying to keep the electric on. God bless you all.